Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this
Like
is
Wayne's
WP
World.
Watercoolers. This is WP Watercooler, episode number 251. Today's topic is scheduling in the WordPress customizer. Let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. George, you win the alphabet. It's up to you to start us off.
Yay, random luck of the draw. My name is George Stefanis. I work at Automatic, live WordPress, teach WordPress, something or other. I'm not say. Have a great day.
Yay. Russ, how about you?
I'm Russ. I work at Web Dev Studios. Speaking at WordCamp Vegas this weekend, which there are still tickets. You guys should, maybe drive or fly here. It's going to be a lot better than the next basketball game in LA. That's for sure.
Steve,
come on, man. Come on.
Lob City.
I'm Steve.
I'm
Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup. And yes, I am a Clipper fan.
Oh man, Weston, how about you?
Yeah, Weston Ruter. I'm the co-release lead for WordPress 4.9 and CTO of XWP. Do a lot with Customizer over the years, so excited about the new features in this release.
Us too, man. Super excited about it. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at jasontucker.blog, and my website and Twitter are both Jason Tucker, so feel free to go take a look at those things over there. We also do another show on this network called WP Blab. You can take a look at those on Thursdays. And yesterday was Community Connections, what Bridget does with Jen Miller, and it was a pretty cool talk with Andrea Middleton, so feel free to go take a look at that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's coming up here in WordPress 4.9. Beta 2 is what we're looking at right now. The one thing that kind of caught my eye when I was looking at this was the fact that you can now schedule a whole bunch of stuff in WordPress, including like widgets and customizer stuff. And, what we usually do on WP Watercooler over the last 5 years here is every time a major release comes out, we usually kind of look at it and see what types of things are going to be affecting us and what types of things we should, share with you folks so that you'd be able to know a little bit about it. But this idea of being able to schedule a change and then save it, and then at some point that change turns on, at the time in which it's been scheduled, that sounds amazing. And it sounds like it's something that you can do some really cool stuff with down the road and other things other than just the built-in stuff within WordPress. Steve, so I covered everything, right? So we're all done, right?
I think so. But according to Wikipedia, so what you're talking about, Jason, is not, so you can already schedule posts, right, in WordPress. What we're talking about is scheduling actual changes to your website, design, navigation, that kind of stuff, things that you would build inside of the customizer. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I just wanted to clarify it for a non-technical audience.
The customizer allows for you to preview changes to anything on your site if a plugin, or if a theme exposes it in the customizer, or if a plugin makes it available in the customizer. Like the Customize Posts feature plugin allows you to edit posts and pages in the customizer. And so, and WordPress 4.3 added menus, WordPress 3.9 added widgets. And so more and more things are being added to this live preview interface in the customizer. And since 4.7, the infrastructure has been in place to persistently store those pending changes and change sets. And then now, 2 releases later, we now have the UI for being able to not only schedule those changes to go live later, but also to draft them so that you can come back to them later and iterate, share with somebody else. There's change set locking now. So if you're editing changes and somebody else tries to come in, they can be notified of that so they don't try to step on your toes. And then there's also the ability to preview the changes you've made that aren't published yet by sharing a preview link with other users, and then they can see what those changes will be once those changes go live.
Oh, slow your roll there.
As an example,
WordPress way too useful. Okay, come on, man.
So as an example of this, something I've had to do myself before in corporate environments is if we're doing a change, like the holiday season is coming up, we want to add some snowflakes coming down. We want to basically we do that by toggling on a child theme or something, and which would mean that I'd have to be up at 2 in the morning to flip the thing over. With the new change sets and being able to schedule them, you can say, hey, when 2 o'clock in the morning, December 1st rolls around, make there be snowflakes, and it'll just happen.
Well,
you get jazz hands with it, or
you do jazz hands. That's what it is. But it's also one of those things where, like, where you have, like let's say a sponsorship, and you can say run this from here to here, or do this to here. And I kind of wish that this existed a long while ago when advertising widgets and plugins kind of went around, because that would have been sweet. But we have it now, and that's all we care about, right?
Yeah. So you could schedule. You could add a new widget to a sidebar and change the background image to be your sponsor's image and schedule those to go live Sunday at midnight. And then you could share the preview link with that sponsor before it goes live to make sure they're happy with it. And then it would go live at midnight.
So I have no reason to keep my photo bucket up and going with all my screenshots of changes, because now we have a preview link.
That's right.
It's going to be great.
That's cool. I can see this being used for other stuff, especially when it comes to like the page builders that are out there, that you're able to schedule these sorts of things. So like essentially building a collection of how this is going to look and then saving it, which makes me think that, I mean, at some point here, this will be various Gutenberg blocks will actually be schedulable as well, right?
Yeah. Right now, there's no post editing in core in the customizer. The Customize Post feature plugin brings that into core, but the UI that provides is definitely not what we'll be going with. We'll be going with Gutenberg instead. But as part of the 5.0 release and post Gutenberg merge, I'm going to be working a lot together with others on bringing the Gutenberg block editing interfaces into the customizer so that you can edit not just the widgets and nav menus and things you see on the sidebar or the header and the footer, but anything you see on your site, you could edit in live preview and be able to click around the site and see how that post or page appears in whatever context it may appear. So if you're editing a post and you supply the excerpt, you can see how it appears on the homepage or on the single page. That can't be done currently when you edit a post in the post preview. So
just being able to say, I'm very excited to see how 2018 interfaces with Gutenberg and the customizer.
Are there any plans? I don't know if this is there or not yet, but are there any plans for revisions? So if I've scheduled something to go live, can I go back to my old revision?
Yeah, there's a ticket open for that as well, to have a revision history. And then if you were to click on an old revision, to then create a revert change set so that you can then preview the undo of that and then schedule that undo to go live.
I know I'm getting into wish list stuff, but is there also an expiry, right? So I know I can schedule, but can I also expire and go back to another version? For George's example, he was talking about like a holiday themed, right? So I might want it to go just for the month of December and then go back to my original theme in January.
Well, that kind of fix now though is you would add the CSS to make the snowflakes, and then you set it for here. Then you would remove that CSS on this date, and you could kind of do that, but
schedule it again, right?
Yeah. So right? the undo would be just a UI on top of reverting. But like expiry would be just a UI on top of reverting.
Yeah.
Cool.
But to be fair, that would suck if I added CSS and I have to schedule another thing to remove the CSS, and I had to keep doing that every time I wanted to change something. That would suck. So I like your idea better, Steve.
Well, that's one.
Every now and then I have one.
Two more things about this release.
You should blog about that.
Go for a Weston annual blog post.
In the current release, you can't schedule themes to go live. You can't schedule a theme switch currently. So that's one limitation, and that's made explicit in the UI. If you try to switch a theme while you're scheduling changes, you can't do that currently.
Okay.
And the other thing is, once you've scheduled a change, that change, when you come to the customizer the next time, those scheduled changes will be preloaded for you to continue modifying. So you can't schedule two things at the same time currently. There is a filter to be able to allow for like branching of changes so that you can have multiple changes scheduled in parallel. But for the most users, that's not like conceptually easy to grasp. So
yeah, I can imagine this gets very complicated very fast.
Yeah, you're going to have a timeline thing that's going to have to show you, here's all the events that are going to be occurring here and all the different times at which they're happening.
Yeah.
And then
I was actually going to ask, is there any kind of conflict? Like if I schedule this for like 12:01 and 1 second, and I schedule this for 12:01 and 2 seconds, are there any kind of conflicts? you have to keep them 5 minutes apart? Have you guys tested that?
That's why we only allow one set of changes to be scheduled at a time for conflict. Because there's no solution yet for the issue of conflicts between different change sets. That's one reason why we in core you have this linear path, what we call it, to change sets. But the customized snapshots plugin opts into having the ability to have multiple changes in parallel. And in that plugin, we're working on trying to figure out ways to improve the conflict resolution.
Cool.
Problem.
I mean, it's almost as if you guys are taking Git and making Git into the customizer, and you're like taking all these things and merging your changes and then pushing, right? That's kind of interesting.
It's a new take on post forking, that idea, and it's also
that's a great name for a band. Post forking, I love it.
It's another way to look at like it's bringing the staging environment to production, so you can stage changes in your production environment without having to worry about, copying the entire database down and syncing it back up to the production environment.
I never thought of it that way. That is really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Russ.
I mean, we tell people all the time, if you're going to make changes, do it on a local copy or do it on this. And this is kind of like almost taking that out of the thing of saying, you don't have to do everything now on staging or local. You can do some things on prod with that safety net.
Mm-hmm. Because
it's interesting.
What you do in the customizer stays in the customizer, like in Vegas, until you hit save and publish.
But it's also one of those things when you're on WordPress.com and you don't have a staging site. Now you kind of will have a staging site on WordPress.com, even though you don't have to move to .org. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's mind is blown.
So one other question then is, if you have a change set staged and scheduled to happen like at noon the next day, can you still go in and make minor CSS tweaks to your current site through the customizer? And would those get overridden, or is it like a differential that's being applied?
If you've scheduled changes to go live, then every time you come back in the customizer until that scheduled time, you'll be making changes on top of those scheduled changes. So they'll all be part of the same change set.
So when something's scheduled, you can no longer change your live site until the scheduled changes apply.
Yeah.
Got it.
Wow, unless you have branching enabled with the snapshots plugin, that will allow you to have multiple changes in parallel.
Neat. So that snapshots plugin, is that, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, but is that something that would essentially make it into core at some point? Or is that something that you're just leaving it open enough that, developers like your shop will be able to kind of build those things out and use them?
At XWP, we've developed a lot of these features for clients to basically prove out these change set ideas in client projects. And so this 4.9 release actually includes a lot of the code and ideas from the snapshots plugin. So with each release, we kind of disable more and more features of the snapshots plugin because now they're in core itself. So it's kind of like eventually it'll be just like a plugin that does nothing, hopefully.
That's cool.
But one thing it does provide, because you can with snapshots, you can have multiple change sets in parallel. So it adds a new admin screen that lists out all the different change sets you have pending or scheduled. And so then you can inspect what's inside of a change set, and you can do additional things like merge change sets together and split them apart and things like that.
Wow. I mean, at that point, WordPress is I guess WordPress can get pretty complicated when it comes to that sort of stuff. I'd imagine that being able to do this using roles to be able to make sure that only certain roles are able to use it and all that sort of stuff is in play as well, right?
Yeah, there's a customized capability that you can grant to specific users. And then like we've used it so that you can access the customizer, but then once you're in the customizer, you're only able to modify one specific set of settings, so you can't modify everything.
Is there some kind of notification that lets you know that has been done? Because I would imagine, like, let's say a coworker schedules something, then I want to go in and want to do something. Like, you said there's an admin screen, but is there something on in the dashboard somewhere that says, hey, there's already scheduled change?
Well, in core, if you go into the customizer, it'll preload that previous user's scheduled changes. And so then the button at the top will say scheduled.
Gotcha.
So you'll know that you're editing something that's, but we could add an additional notification to say, heads up, this is, you're starting to edit someone else's scheduled changes. That might be a good thing to add.
I don't know if this is something that I would use like for the business right away. It's something that like is open for discussion, but I couldn't see like using one of our larger clients and going back to them and be like, here's this dev preview link, and then they're like, well, can you make this wider, this whatever, and then scheduling a change on top of that, doing like, I don't know if we could do that yet. But for somebody who like Steve, he has a Clippers blog and just wants to make changes, we could do that, right?
This is the thing of the day. This is it.
Like,
come on.
I didn't
like grind salt in.
Russ, you're better than this. You're better than this.
So Steve has a cat blog, and he wants to change some cat stuff around. I could totally see doing this. Like on a large scale, I don't know if we're there yet, but I think it's interesting. Like when you look at somebody who just has like a small business and just wants to change small little things, like, you know, you could even do this with hours, right? You could say, hey, every day schedule something to change my hours. So you no longer need a plugin to do business hours or whatever. You technically could use this to do that.
Or maybe more relevant.
I think that though it's also very applicable to large enterprise projects. Like we developed the Customize Snapshots plugin specifically for the needs of News Corp Australia. And so like news.com.au and is using snapshots and using the customizer to do the full like page layouts of their like homepage and their different category pages. And so then with snapshots and change sets, they can then make those changes, draft them, and even schedule them to go live, preview with them with others, and share them, collaborate.
Yeah,
I guess. Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it.
Another great example of that is if you were running like again based on the season, if you're running a Halloween promotion and you want to say had be spooky Halloween, you had a couple widgets, you had a couple styles on your site making some pumpkins in the background, but I mean, you don't really want that to keep showing up when November rolls around. So you don't have to, if you're going to be out trick-or-treating with your kids Halloween night, you don't want to have to make sure you get back and turn all that off again. So you can just schedule it so the widgets go away, the styling changes to what you want it. So you don't have to kick off or end promotions whenever you have to be there.
So is this like adding a cron somewhere, or like how is it like, is this going off server time? Because like, what if I have servers somewhere else? Like, how does all this roll?
It uses, there's an underlying customized change set post type that stores all the changes you've made. And then when that post transitions into a published status, that's the trigger that then makes all those changes go live. And so if just by, even you can use WP CLI to schedule, to create a change set and then to set it to a future date. You don't even have to open the customizer at all. You can, you know, create all these changes other places. But yeah, so it uses WP cron, just like scheduling a post, and uses the same infrastructure. So if you schedule a post to go live at midnight, or you schedule a change to go live at midnight, it'll use the same underlying logic to publish those changes.
So caching has to be something that we really need to look at with this, especially when it comes to blowing out cache after the fact that these changes have done. Have you guys tested any of that? And what are you thinking folks should look at when having something that's in an automated state, making sure that the cache gets blown out and everything starts working again?
Well, it's using the exact same code as just publishing customizer changes live. So it's just deferring that publishing until a scheduled time. So any existing cache busting logic that would run when you publish changes in the customizer, they should also run when you schedule them to go live.
I mean, honestly, like on the sites that I manage that have, you know, a decent number of folks going to the site, I'm not using Customizer for those. I'm either, you know, hard coding stuff and building it myself, or I'm using other tools that are off the shelf and kind of tying them all together without using Customizer. I'm pretty new to even the idea of using Customizer for this sort of thing. So for me, it looks like, I mean, I'm going to have to trigger many different, you know, ways of testing this, and it almost seems like I'm going to have to do have something that does some type of test after the fact, just to make sure everything got cleared out and everything's looking good. It's almost like a unit test that needs to happen like right after that that switchover happens.
Well, especially if you're caching locally with something like WP Rocket or Super Cache or whatever, and then you're sending that to Cloudflare to cache, and I mean, like, you got to trigger all that as well, right? So I mean, I think it's a valuable concern that everyone who caches should be, you know, considering right now. You know,
that just means all your cache plugins have to have an invalidation hook that listens for stuff and fires off, which is expected anyway. So yeah,
but everything falls through the cracks.
It's as the saying goes, cache ruins everything around me.
I don't know. I'm just seeing that when something that's in an automated state is happening, that if it's a manual operation, I'm just going to go to the website, hit refresh. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to open up an incognito window. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to open it up on my phone and look at it. I'm going to go to a Starbucks and look at whatever it is I got to do to make sure that everything's looking okay. I don't know. It's that for me, I'm always scared about having automated things happen. I mean, even posts miss schedules, you know, as well. So, you know, when you thought it was no longer going to be Halloween and it's now going to be, you know, some other holiday, and your whole website's showing that, then yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely check to make sure that scheduling works with the plugins and themes that you have. And if there's anything that's not doing cache invalidation properly, then that should be, if you have a mission critical release date, you should definitely, but if you have a mission critical release date, you probably are up at midnight anyway.
Steve, you had something to say? What were you saying?
I said the word Hanukkah.
Oh, my apologies.
After you said Halloween, I said if you got another event coming up after Halloween, which is Hanukkah.
Yep. I don't know. I think those
according to Walmart, it's Christmas, right? like that stuff's already out. So.
Oh, come on! After
depending on which neighborhood you're in.
What happened to Turkey Day? Come on.
Oh,
Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
So,
quietly judging you all.
So what other things should we be looking at when it comes to you know, having these customizations happening? I mean, is there stuff that's happening outside of this, like for instance, like template parts that are happening, or is it even like custom fields that are in there? I mean, are we seeing that some of these things can be scheduled as well down the road, or you're foreseeing these types of things being scheduled?
As long as a plugin implements a customizer interface for adding something to the customizer, then it can be scheduled. So like the customized post plugin allows you to edit posts and pages and post meta and all that stuff, featured images, post page templates, all that in the customizer. And so because it's added the customizer, then automatically it will then benefit from the ability to publish and schedule those changes. And with that, you can edit multiple pages and posts in a single change set. So, and you can add widgets and nav menus, and you can create a whole new section of your site in a single change set, preview that, and schedule to go live at a given time. And the idea of staging changes in WordPress hasn't existed, and the idea of batching changes together hasn't existed. So the customizer really brings together a lot of powerful concepts that haven't existed in WordPress previously, and it's one of the reasons why it's so exciting to me.
Like scheduling meta boxes, the various fields that are in those, you know, having those change as needed would be a pretty neat thing. Or even having something like something I have never seen WordPress do before, but maybe if Yoast, if they're listening, having Yoast automatically update, you know, various images that are within there, so that way when people go and share your content on Facebook or, you know, Twitter or something like that after an event occurred, you could have the content change, so it could be like after Christmas sale instead of, you know, you know, a Christmas sale that's coming up kind of thing. So I don't know, it seems like there's a lot of really cool stuff you could do with this, especially down the road here.
I think it's awesome that you think Yoast is listening.
Of course Yoast is listening. Are you kidding me? Come on. 250 episodes, man.
Right. Okay. Shout out to Yoast.
Hey, it only takes 5 days straight to listen to them all if you never sleep.
Right? It's not that big of a deal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve still thinks someone watches this thing, which I think is just
No,
absolutely hilarious.
You still think someone watches this thing. I've been a realist since day one.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of excited though about having the preview link, because I think it gives an opportunity for somebody who doesn't know kind of what they're doing. They can, you know, try to do it on their own and then send a preview link and say, hey, what do you think of this? So like I no longer have to like do one-on-one real-time training with people to do it. I can kind of say, why don't you do this? And then they can resend me a preview link or something. I mean, that's something that staging or having a development site kind of solved. But now, again, once we have this, you no longer have to have that staging sense just because you want to show changes or whatever. I think it's interesting, and I'm kind of curious why this hasn't been a thing before. Maybe that technology hasn't existed. But, I mean, again, I'm glad it's here. I can't complain about it. But, you know, like Russ from 2007 is freaking out right now that this is here. That's all I'm saying.
It's because the change set idea didn't exist before 4.7, and so that's what makes all this possible. And the preview link, it's like when you click post preview in the edit post screen, you go to the singular template, right, for that post. And if you try clicking around the site, your changes are gone. You don't see them anywhere else, right? But the difference with this is the front end preview link that you get in the customizer, it'll include that change set UUID in the URL. And as you click around the site, that will stick with you. So you can see those changes anywhere you go on the site, and they'll stick with you.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I mean, I think this is a big step in something that, you know, other competitors to WordPress don't have, right? Like they don't have a way to schedule kind of things. Like even that company that sponsors all the WPwatercooler videos, like the ad you're going to watch before you watch this, I don't think they do that, right?
Squarespace? Maybe, I don't know.
I was trying not to say them, but okay.
Right now they're going to keep buying the ads.
Please don't do that.
All the ads on my left-hand sidebar now are going to say Squarespace because Jason Tucker said it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think they have this kind of thing, and I think again, this is stepping WordPress in the right direction, right? I love it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be some cool stuff, and I think being able to make sure that developers are able to look at this stuff or know how this technology is going to work and maybe envision how they can actually make this work using the plugins that they've created is going to be really cool.
Yeah, and keep an eye out on the Make WordPress core blog, because there's going to be a ton of dev notes published in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of this, all this will be detailed a lot more.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes that we have for today, and then make sure that everybody's able to take a look at them. But if you're doing any of this type of work and you want to be able to schedule changes to happen on the website, I think Weston, your team, you guys are doing a great job of being able to pull that off.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that's about it for today. Make sure you go over to our website at wp-watercooler.com and take a look at all the stuff that's happening there. If you go to wp-watercooler.com/subscribe, you can see all of the ways in which you can subscribe to this content. That's about it, folks. Thank you very much for watching us, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.